welcome to the On to the Next podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa, and I am so happy you are here today. If you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see that I have another little guest with me, my mom. But today, she's here more as an agent, okay? So she is Vilma Laguno. Hello, Vilma.
Hi.
Hey. I do still call her mom, and I'm not going to call you Vilma. I don't think I've ever called you Vilma. So
I know.
you're still mom to me, but sometimes in, public settings, professional settings, I'm like, wait, I'm not going to call her mom because, that's not the move right now. We're working, okay?
This is business.
Yeah, so no, you get the point, but this is Miss Vilma Laguno, owner of Dream Team Talent Agencies, 3 locations in Chicago, LA, and Atlanta. She's here to give more of the inside scoop of the industry today. So if you listened to the episode before, we talked more about our personal lives, growing up, her being my mom, what that was like growing up, things we've learned along the way. It was a lot more fun and juicy, more personal to who we are as humans and how our daily conversations are with one another. So if you didn't listen to that already, I'd please recommend go listen to it. It's a lot of fun, lots of giggles for sure throughout that process. You can watch it on YouTube or stream it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. So today, Miss Vilma, let's chat.
Let's talk. If we're talking about the industry, we are in trouble because I have 23 years of experience, so I have tons to say.
Yes. Let's just first give the origin story. I know you can talk about it for hours because you love it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this in 2 minutes.
Oh. So you're asking me
just why we're here today, where it began,
okay. To try to
what
make
you
it
tell people, the huge,
Yeah, to make it as brief as possible. I started in this industry 23 years ago because of my child sitting next to me right here. She was a brand new baby girl. If you haven't heard the story yet, I was sitting at the table having my coffee, reading the Sunday newspaper. In the Sunday paper, they would have sales ads and sales papers in there. I don't know if they still do since everything turned electronic, but I was flipping through the paper. Alyssa was 3 months in a bassinet sitting next to me. And I saw all these babies in the Kmart and Sears ads, and I was like, oh my gosh, my baby's cuter than these babies. Because every mom thinks their baby is the cutest baby ever. And I was like, how do I get her in these ads? And this was before Google. This was before the internet. This was before I owned a computer. And before we had our smartphones. So there was no way to find out except for reading books, and I was just reading every parent magazine. So I did my research. Later that week, I was at the mall. I saw a sign for baby beauty pageants. It's funny because I never knew they did baby beauty pageants at the malls, but once you have one, then you start noticing everything. And I signed her up, and she won first place. And I started submitting her pictures to all these contests. She started winning all these contests because everybody thinks their kid is the cutest. But then she was winning, and I was like, yes, it's not just me. No, and so then she won a big contest. It was the cutest baby in America. And out of 783 kids, she won first place, and she won a college savings bond, and we have the trophy and a t-shirt, which we have to dig out so we could post pictures. And that's when I knew, I do have a cute baby. So at this beauty pageant, she made it to state finals. We went to the state finals where she won again, and I met somebody there. And this mom, she was a mom there with her baby, says, oh my gosh, you should get your kid in the industry. Here's my card. Call me, meet me at my office, pay me some money, and I will teach you how to do it. And so I made the call, and I had somebody wait outside for me. I went upstairs. She showed me her child's check stubs where he had booked Huggies commercial, and he made $60,000 off this Huggies commercial. And I was like, what? So I met someone who found a way to do it. So I did the footwork. I found the way. When I paid the woman that money 20 years ago, it was $125, which now is equivalent to $1,000, right? She gave me the list of all the talent agencies that were downtown. and told me what I needed to send them. So I did that. I went home, I did what she said, and the next 2 days, 48 hours later, because it was all through mail, I saw all these model agencies on the caller ID, and she literally got signed by a few agencies right away. And then I had a baby boy. He was 2 months old, and I submitted them both. And within a year, they were signed with 8 of the talent agencies in Chicago. And so I worked with a lot of the talent agencies in Chicago, and now they are my competitors. The ones that are still open, there's about quite a few that didn't make it and they closed. But the ones that are still open, they're now my competitors. But what I did is, over the years, we were in the industry for 20 years since she was born, 23 years. She is in many ads, and I ended up having a third child. She got signed from the hospital. I called when I had a newborn and said, "You have a newborn baby," and she was automatically signed. Because when you have a newborn, sometimes they want them under 7 weeks old, like for some of these hospital scenes, like in TV. So I was like, "You have a newborn," and they assumed if your other are so darling, then this one will be too. And so she was automatically signed, and she actually booked her first job at 8 weeks old. And so for their first 5 years of their life, we were on a set 2 to 3 times a week, and just different sets, running them around for 5 years. And over the years, what I learned was I had to just figure it out whenever they called, but I didn't have anyone really guiding us. It was just when they called, we jumped. That's how it went. But when I knew I loved this industry and I wanted to go deeper, I didn't really have a lot of guidance. So I had to continue to do footwork until the internet opened. And then I started doing internet research to find a way to get deeper into this and make it a bigger deal than what it was. So when I decided to open up an agency 5 years ago, it was because for the last 18 years before that, I was helping other families and other kids and other people get into the industry, but I was not getting paid for it. So I said, why don't I just get my license so I could get paid for this work that I'm doing? And I went when it was the right time, and I decided to do what I felt was missing from the agency. So I have a managerial style. I like to develop and guide and to help talent to try to get to their dreams and reach their goals faster, because I felt like we didn't have that, and I felt that we could have did a lot more with your younger years, with all of your younger years, but that we didn't have guidance. There was a lot of shifts and changes. The industry was different. A lot of it was through mail. It was fast but slow in a weird way, where now it's so much faster because everything's an email and a text, so everything's even faster. But there's no regrets. That's how we learned. It was part of the path and part of the process to get us where we are. And now I just treat my talent agency like if it was my kids, like all my talent. I was a momager. I was managing my 3 kids. Now I'm like I feel like I'm doing that with all of my talent. With that being said, we are a talent agency. We are not a management company, and that is a difference. But I do throw in little things that I can to help get people to their dreams faster. And so Dream Team Talent Chicago was born first because that's where we live. From there, we opened up in LA. The dream was always to get to Hollywood. And once I had an opportunity that I knew I could get there, we did it. And then things happened that brought us to Atlanta. That's a whole other story. I never been to Atlanta in my life, and I opened up an agency before I ever even stepped foot in Atlanta. And it was, I think, to prove to myself how we can do anything from wherever we are. And now that everything is through technology, there's no excuse. Like, we can do anything from wherever we are. And so we represent about 1,000 actors across the 3 cities. In Chicago, we're all ages. The other 2, it's 16 and older. And we're currently in a strike when you're hearing this. So things are a little bit slower, but we are always on the move and doing what we got to do along the way. There's a lot to it, and it's so much to explain, but we are here and we're in it. And shout out to all of my Dream Team family. Hey, Dream Team, everybody watching, listening. Thanks for being here. Talking about the industry some more, like always.
Oh my gosh, yes. Hi, Dream Team. Lots of love. Yeah, so it's been cool watching you raise these 3 babies, Atlanta, LA, and Chicago. They're between, 1 and 5 years old.
Yeah, so they're
which is
toddlers
crazy
still.
cool to see. And it is a thing being, it's obviously inspiring because you are the first Hispanic woman to own an agency in all these states, which is iconic. That's why we're here making her story, just out here living the life. So that's something that I don't think gets enough credit that needs to be said. So that's amazing. Because it's also all handcrafted by her. Like, she didn't have money. She didn't have funds.
I didn't know people. I didn't know anyone in the industry that told me how to do this. It was all trying to figure it out. I never worked at a talent agency.
She didn't go to college. She had no what you're supposed to have. Oh, you're supposed to have a degree in order to make a business. She has none of that, and she's had businesses my whole life. Whether it was
I owned a real estate office. I owned a dance company. I owned several other things.
Yeah, little pockets in between, and then this obviously it was all prepping you for the bigger thing, which was these agencies, different cities, different states, like we said.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also shows people you don't have to have the money, the resources, the support. She obviously has the support that she found because she makes her friends into family. She makes Dream Team into family. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We of course have family support, but it's cool how much bigger the community is because she really welcomes everyone in, whether you were, someone she met last week or someone she's known for 10 years. And I think that makes a difference too, and it shows. You show up to things.
Yes.
You show up, and she's always taught me, show up, stay committed. You're a woman of your word. Don't fucking say yes and then not come. We don't do that, she's very much a woman of her word, and that was always ingrained in me since I was a kid.
Yes.
To where it was annoying.
Yeah.
But now it's good. I see it, I'm no, 100%.
Yes.
You have to be that person.
Yes, I think that as an entrepreneur, because that's another thing we don't talk about, especially being a woman, especially being a Hispanic woman, especially being someone that didn't have any entrepreneurs in our family or anyone to help guide me to think that I can do this. I know my dad always had an entrepreneur heart. He had an entrepreneur spirit. He never had a successful business. He tried and he just couldn't get it. It was different times. I saw him though, and I saw it happen, and I do have it from him. He would say, I'm going to change the cycle and you're going to figure it out, and it's just going to work. And I feel I am that person. It's my purpose. I was supposed to figure it out, and it took a lot of mistakes. I didn't know what I was going to open. I had no idea. How can I possibly, if you guys saw how I grew up, we were raised on welfare, we were raised poor, we were raised in basement apartments, we were raised with very minimal stuff. But what I learned from that, 2 things. A, that's why I'm hungry, right?
It builds character.
It builds character. You can make something out of anything because we didn't have anything, and I always had to make something. And anyone who knows me now and just met me as an adult doesn't know that I come from nothing. All my childhood friends and people listening that know, they know what I come from, and they're actually, when they reach out to me with congrats or with amazement, it means so much because they saw where I came from. So I literally get tears from those conversations, and when those friends reach out, because they know the struggle, they saw me in the struggle. What no one will ever see, I will never be a victim, right? So because I will never be a victim, it's not talked about and it's not brought up. I've never been to Hollywood until I was 31. That was my first time in Hollywood. And so I didn't know I could go to Hollywood. I grew up thinking what you see on TV, we can never touch. With that being said, I grew up in watching TV was fantasy for me. That's where I wanted to be. That's where my escape was. That's the TV shows, the arts was my escape from the struggle. And so to be able, like, I literally don't have enough time to even think. Like, if I really sat down and think, I people tell me, like, do you lay up at night and think, like, how amazing I made history, you know, with opening these agencies and being the first Latina woman to open up 3 agencies in these, and I'm like, I don't even realize I did that. Someone, when I did that, it wasn't a goal. It happened, and someone said, do you know that you're the, and I was like, what? And I didn't even know I did it. And I kind of live like that. All the little milestones we reach, a lot of times I'm just putting in the work and planting seeds every day, and now it got to a point where they're coming. With that being said, I have a lot of goals and dreams that I literally fight for, and I literally do the work to make come true. But when you're just putting in the work, whatever's meant for you comes along as well.
And the other thing with you is, like, she's not like, okay, I'm done, I did it. Like, she's up every day, she's working every day. We still didn't make it to the extent that we wanted to make it.
No.
And that's not saying we're not grateful for where we are. It is amazing. We do obviously, like, look up and it's like, oh my God, like, this is something, like, this was handcrafted. Like, this is not just an everyday thing. Like, this is what we were here for.
Yeah,
like, it's a very beautiful, like, angelic experience for us when we see all the things, all the opportunity every day, the people we meet, the connections, everything like that is insane. We don't take it for granted, but we also, because of how she was raised with that hungry mindset of having to make it on her own or else she's not going to make it, like, that came onto us with always having the dreams, thinking bigger. You made me Delulu.
Yeah, delusional.
My mom, you got that from Grandpa, the Delulu, the delusional.
My
she
dad.
calls it, yeah, and we wouldn't be here, like, if you knew how my grandpa was raised, my grandma was raised, traumatizing. If you knew how you were raised, traumatizing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not something we talk about because it's not cute.
Yes.
But it also is good to talk about because it's not cute, and it's true to who you are and to who we are and why I am how I am and why you are how you are, and how we always were. It keeps us humble in a way.
Yes.
Too.
I feel that, so, I was telling my friend, who's also in the arts, I said, like, no, I was raised in basement apartments. I had nothing. I would get 2 pairs of shoes a year. That's why I'll have 100 pairs now if I could, whatever you don't have and you felt you were lacking in, you want more now. Well, there's ways you could look at it. Some people are comfortable in the lifestyle and this is how it is, and we're lucky we have a pair every year, and I'm very grateful. You can talk to my mama and ask her. I was never that kid that cried because I had 1 pair. I showed up with that 1 pair for however long till I got my next pair, and we were okay. So I was never in a victim mindset. That's the one thing that I thank my dad for, the delusion. Mm-hmm. My dad was delusional. And that's how he got through his trauma. He passed that to me. This is a whole other podcast about that's for therapy.
Generational trauma, healing your inner child.
Yeah, for therapy. But what I did learn about delusion, and I actually talked to someone, Billy Joe, in case Billy Joe's listening, because it's a new friend I just made. I was on her podcast this as well. And she calls it delusional optimism. And when she said that, because I told her I was always kind of delusional, I'm an optimist. If you say, who are you? That's in the first sentence. And one of the first words you're going to hear is life enthusiast. I'm an optimist. Like, I'm always looking for the bright side and everything, the positive in everything. And I told her, but I'm also delusional. I also feel that no matter what, I can make something happen. And I truly feel if something has been done in this world, then you 100% can do it too. That's not to say, and if something hasn't been done in this world, you can also do it too. You just got to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And that's how I ended up making history with being the first female Hispanic to own. Like, that didn't happen before. I made it happen. Yeah. I didn't know I made it happen, and it happened. Yeah. So it's just being delusional. So everyone, please be delusional. Like, you have to be delusional. It's great to be in reality. Sometimes when you're in reality, reality could be too much. It's a cruel, hard world. You have to have that fantasy side. So when I talk about delusion, I'm talking about the fantasy. I'm talking about that maybe I can do this when I grow up. The faith. Faith. Kids, when they say they want to be an astronaut, and people would be like, you'll never go to space, and like, no, you want them. kids, please, you can be an astronaut. You know, I don't want my kids to be an astronaut because I'm scared what's going to happen because, you know, because of history and stuff. But you definitely could be. Like, you know, there's parents that'll be like, don't say you can be that because you can, you know, a lot of famous people and a lot of rich people and successful people now will tell you that they said they wanted to be on TV, or they wanted to be a rapper, or they wanted to be a singer, or they wanted to be, and someone in their life told them there's no way because of where they came from.
Yeah.
And they showed up and showed out, and right now they make money being on TV, and you know, things like that. And so I'm in that category.
Yeah,
and
you
when
were told,
I was
the
told,
odds were against
oh
you.
my gosh, the odds were not only against me. Who the hell am I, like, to go to Hollywood and then say I'm opening an agency there when I know no one in Hollywood? Like, I know no one. There's no one when I started out in this that I can literally call and say, like, okay, how does agency work out here? How does management work out here? How does the industry work out here? There's no way. I can tell you, I don't even know how I did it sometimes. But what I did know is that I'm always curious and I ask questions. And the one thing besides delusion, because you could be delusional, you could be an optimist. You got to put action. It's action. I literally, every day of my life, I'm doing some kind of seed planting. I talk about, it's funny because I don't cook. I don't even know, I don't garden, you know, anything like that. But I will tell you, I am a gardener because I am planting seeds every day of my life, whether it is a email, a text, a text, an email, reaching out, reading something, studying something, watching videos on learning how to do something every day of my life, whether it's liking a post, connecting with someone that you admire, that you see on social media, what they're doing. I say the joke about people are using social media to hook up and get in the DMs. I'll be in a DM to say, how did you get your podcast like that? How did you get that background? I will ask questions to anyone, and I'm not scared. And people are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to bother people. And I'm telling you right now that everyone thinks that, so no one's asking. So when someone does ask, they want to help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can go on for days, but delusional optimism is the secret. You have to, like, see what the dream is, what the fantasy is, and then believe it can happen for you. And then be optimistic, even though you're going to get the door slammed and you're going to hear no's and people are going to tell you you're crazy. And when they say that, say, yes, I sure am. You own it. I own the crazy. And be aware of it, though. You know, be aware.
Don't be, like, concerningly crazy.
Don't be concerningly crazy. But if you're aware of it, use it to your good.
It could be a good thing.
use my crazy to my good, to think that I belong here. I use my crazy to think, yes, I deserve to be here. Yes, I deserve to do this, or I can make this decision. So if you get into that space in your head, anything can be done. But it takes action, and it's not, you can say it at home, but you also have to say it in your face and on this podcast and out loud wherever you are. If you just say it at home, but you're not doing it and putting it out there, you know? So yeah, I mean, I am proof though that you can do something without knowing any, you know, like, find the connections along the way. With this all being said, I'm not going to pretend I did this alone. I'm only here because I reached out to people and people helped me along the way. So, but the thing is, they were all strangers when I reached out to them. So everyone I reached out to was a stranger, and we became friends because I told them what my intention and my plan was, and people wanted to help. So I have shout outs to so many people. One day, hopefully, I can, like, write down and trace the tracks of everyone I owe a thank you to. Because I thank them. Trust me, I have proof stamped emails, you know, and I time stamped messages of me thanking people in person, in email, in text, with gifts sometimes, whatever I can do to show my gratitude. And but, like, it takes a village, like, and I still need people, and I still ask for help. I am, like, in these other cities, I'm still, even in Chicago, I'm still meeting people that are helping me. And I've been here 5 years, and we're kind of known here. We're good here, but there's still a road. We always have to move up here. And I'm in Atlanta and LA, and I'm now building there and having to meet people there every day to get those to grow, and I want to grow the agencies even more. And it's a non-stop. It's not like we're here and now we stop. It's a non-stop.
Yeah,
Um,
forever.
A forever thing. If you want, it's the climb. If this is what you want to do, I'm big on about the climb, and I'm very comfortable with knowing that. I don't know if there's ever, every time there's a goal I hit, I move the goalpost up. There's another goal, there's another goal, there's another goal. And I think the more that you know you can do things, the more you want to do and the more you try to do, because I've proven to myself I can do it.
You know your potential, yeah.
So don't waste your potential and just go for it, and then it'll keep going from there. People say like the domino effect. It's kind of that way in one way, you know.
Yeah, when you leave space for it, it comes.
Yes.
If you know
that too, and if you're open,
you're open for it. Good intentions, all the things.
Yeah.
And kind of going off of this, you kind of hinted at some of these things, but I wanted to talk about. Because obviously all you do every day is talk to actors and people who go in these auditions, go into rooms, and they get rejected. How to deal with rejection. So you raised me since I was, as my earliest memories were going into auditions in casting rooms, auditioning for commercials, for TV, television, movies, whatever it was, and I would get rejected more than I would get the yes. My first thing I learned as a child was how to handle rejection and how to not take it personal. And I think that's made me so, in a way, like, it made me more confident in myself, because if I'm not going to believe in myself, I can't bank on some casting director from LA to believe in me if they're not picking on me. Like, if I had that mentality of like, if he tells me no, then I'm nothing. Like, then I'm fucked for my whole life. I'm gonna be sad and miserable and insecure my whole life. Yeah. Because if I had that mindset. But as a child, I would go in an audition room, do my thing, I would walk out, and we just carried on. Like, we didn't talk, like, it was never a thing where I was like, Mommy, like, I messed up. Like, we just carried the fuck on, because what can you do, you know? Especially when you're a kid. Like, I was fucking 8 years old, like, going into these rooms alone, like, hoping for the best, you know what I mean? Like, doing my little audition. And when you're a kid, you don't know, but as you become an adult and a teenager and you realize, like, wait, they didn't want me? You can't think like that. What she taught me, well, first of all, what she did for us as kids, and it kind of worked out, every time it worked out, you know, you never, like, messed up this, is that we would not, let's say we didn't book a commercial for peanut butter, for Jiffy peanut butter. We would then later watch a commercial to see who booked it. And it was always someone who didn't look like me. So we never took it personal. Like, even on a Chicago PD, I auditioned for Chicago PD a few months ago, didn't get it. They picked a redhead. Like, I could never compare with a redhead because I'm not a redhead. And maybe I look like someone else in the show who they didn't want. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things outside of just who you are as an actor that you cannot control. I got booked on gigs because I reminded someone of their sister. Do you know what I mean? Like, that means nothing. It's like, okay,
it's great. An opinion.
It's an opinion.
It's luck. But you have to go and you have to be prepared. Yeah. All you could do is give your best. But the one thing that I want to say, because I don't know if she remembers, and now I'm thinking back, but the one thing that I did do, they were going to auditions. It took me a year. Alyssa turned a year old before we ended up starting to go to auditions. It took me her first year in life to figure it out. Doing the beauty pageants, meeting with a lady, taking her pictures, meeting a photographer, getting some other pictures done. And your first booking was, I believe, 13 months, and it was for OshKosh B'gosh. I know I have the pictures in my binder somewhere, but the point is, what I did from them from the start was every time they went to audition or did a booking, we would go to the dollar store after. and when they got older, it would turn into Five Below. So it started with $1, and they would get a reward and a prize, and they got to pick something for the work that they did. And it was like a reward for, like, no matter what the outcome was, they were rewarded for trying.
I remember getting ice cream. Like, something
it was
like
an ice cream. It was rewarding yourself. It was like, we're going for ice cream. We're going for a Happy Meal. Like, we didn't eat Happy Meals every day, but we would get a Happy Meal after an audition because we were downtown or whatever it was. Or it was, oh my gosh, we're going because you were so great, and we're going to go pick 2 toys after that. It started with 1 toy. Then next time you get 2 toys. And then as they got older and realized, like, hey, it turned to $5 things. You know what I'm saying? But the point I'm saying that for is the reward. The reward was getting the audition. Yeah. Trying. The reward was trying.
Putting yourself out there.
Putting yourself out there, showing up, going in there, being prepared as you could. You know, even as kids, you sometimes had to memorize a word or a line or whatever it was. And I always rewarded them. And they weren't only rewarded if they booked. You were rewarded just for showing up for every single thing that we called
The
you for.
participation trophy.
Huh?
The
Yeah,
participation
you
trophy.
literally got a participation trophy. I know we can have a debate and a whole other conversation about that because there's a lot of people that don't like that we all get patted on the back, and then it makes people like feel they already won, so they don't try hard enough. But I am passive that way. I pat people on the back, and I think you should get credit and for showing up for whatever you do.
And I think for me as a kid getting that, I never felt like it made me confident. It didn't make me feel like, oh, like I'm baddie, like I fucking got a toy. You know what I mean? Like I also didn't take it for granted. Like I wasn't like a little brat, like, oh, like I'm so glad I'm only doing this to get the toy.
Yeah.
Like it was never the intention. I don't remember getting a toy half the time. And that's just because that wasn't my priority. Like as a kid. It was doing the audition, that was more fun for me. That was more what I was putting my energy towards.
And me as a stage mom, I made it so that I know they were working. You guys were working.
Yeah.
And I felt like these are little kids working, so they need to get a toy so they can be a kid. Or they need to get ice cream so they can feel like a kid. I didn't want you guys to feel like little. You could get so quick into the like stage mom thing of you have to be great and you gotta be finished and you gotta impress everybody and you better not say this and do that and do this. And I was just like, go in there, show up, have fun, come out, hopefully you book it. But we never even talked about, I mean, if we got a call saying, oh my gosh, you booked it, then we ended up on set and we did our shoots. And then we went after the shoot and got another toy from the dollar store. And my kids were working a lot. So in their first 5 years, this was before the internet because there was a lot less competition as well. So not a lot of people were doing the footwork then. So that's what gave us more experience and more bookings. But it was always just like a fun thing we did. Like it was just another thing to where I remember that you guys, my kids didn't know until about 8 years old that not everyone does this. Since they were born into it, they thought all of their friends and that everyone does it. Until their friends would started coming to the house and would see like toys with their faces on it or the billboards because I had posters of them around the house. Then they're like, wait, is that you? How are you on there? And then they would tell their parents, and then the parents would be like, what's going on? And then they wanted me to help them get their kids. But they all thought it was such a normal part of your everyday life. You thought, you guys didn't even know that it wasn't a thing.
We actually were embarrassed when we found out we weren't.
When I said they were the only kids.
We found out we were the only kids in the whole school that did that. We were embarrassed. We only told people who were like our close friends. We would tell the close friends, don't tell anyone else. Like we didn't want it to become a thing because we felt like we were like bashful about it or something.
Yeah. There was a
we would get
because you were the only one because I had to take you to school early all the time.
To go to auditions or to go to jobs.
Yeah.
At 8 years old, and I would be like, just say it's a doctor's appointment because I was so embarrassed for like people to know what I was going there for.
Yeah. So you would tell your friends like the dentist, and I remember one time one of your friends said like, "Whoa, what are they doing to your teeth?" Because she was leaving early all the time. I remember taking you guys out and then taking you during your lunch to an audition and bringing you back in for your afternoon classes. And I didn't realize at the time, like, how that could be confusing for kids.
Yeah.
I just made it like, it's okay, you're back and carry on, you know? And so we didn't make it a thing until you guys were old enough to really understand. And then that's when there's transitions throughout the whole lifestyle of having your kids start at such a young age, because then there was the braces when you guys had to get braces and things just changed, and when they were part of a team, and then it was like, okay, they can't leave for bookings now because they have a game today, and so we just adjusted with your growth spurts and with all of the way you guys grew, and they all took their breaks in between when it was needed. So I kind of listened to what each one of you needed and did what we needed along the way. But in the process, all I knew is that all the jobs that I did, because I had several jobs, and one of my jobs was bringing you guys to set and being with you guys on set, I knew that when I was on set and in this business, this is the stuff that I loved. It didn't feel like work.
Yeah,
so I was doing that for you guys. It doesn't feel like work. We're stopping by the office, you're taking some pictures, we're going to get a toy, ice cream, go home, eat dinner, homework, carry on. And so it never felt like work, right? And so I knew that, man, the one place I'm never complaining about going or I'm excited to go to was on a set. And it was funny because it wasn't for me. So then one might say, did you want to be the actress? Because most kids that are in the business, the parents wanted to be actors. and they didn't get to do it, so then they live through their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to question myself, was that it? And I knew that I loved Hollywood. That was my escape. I never thought I wanted to be the actor. I did take some acting classes. I did one play in the 8th grade. I did a few talent shows, but I wasn't like ever saying I need to be the actor. But I didn't know, but I just knew I loved this entertainment and the arts. I just loved the arts. I just didn't know where I fit.
Mm-hmm.
So I took you guys, and I said, I don't care if I'm doing craft services. I just want to be on the set. I think it's so cool how these productions come together. I loved every part of a photo shoot. I loved every part of how a film is made, from the writing to the idea to all the camera tricks. And you guys were experiencing so many camera tricks at such a young age that I was surprised by. You know, when they had to make fake snow or fake rain, and we're in a warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very impressive. So I just knew when it was time for me later on to start another business after doing several businesses. Every business I kind of fell into, and they just happened, and then they ran its course. But I would fall into these jobs, and that's why I did them. But this was the one that I pursued.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being in the entertainment industry is, I looked at how can I be part of this.
Yeah.
And I did it for you guys, and then I did it to carry on. And I always wanted to be a manager, and then I couldn't be a manager in Illinois because they don't really have manager contracts here. So I'm like, I need to be a talent agent, and that's how that's how we are where we are right now.
So for people starting, what would your advice be?
Oh, first off, I forgot to say about the rejection.
Oh God, we didn't
all
even
that,
answer the
and I didn't
question.
even answer the question
I
about
know.
rejection. So for the rejection, it's very easy to tell everybody, like, don't be worried, you know, like, easier said than done. I instilled it in you guys when I found out that it wasn't completely personal. Like, it could be you didn't match the mom, you didn't match the dad, you weren't tall enough, you weren't short enough, your hair wasn't the color they needed, you weren't, you know, we learned that when we watched stuff and they picked somebody that was a redhead, and my kid didn't have red hair, so okay, that's why. But it could have been someone that did look like you, and maybe they delivered it differently, or maybe they're whatever it was. There's a million reasons. Once you let go of the million reasons and putting the blame on yourself, that's when you can handle rejection. Once you know it's not you, it's another person's opinion, as long as you give your best, and you just got to keep trying. The thing about with actors is you still get more chances and more chances, and not everything's going to be for you. If you're getting rejected in a different situation, like rejected from a team or something of that nature, it's a little different, that kind of rejection. But rejection in the industry is like, take the feedback if you get any, and adjust, and do better next time.
Yeah.
Or do what you did until it clicks.
Well, something you also always told us was like, okay, then you didn't get it, it wasn't meant for you. Maybe someone else needed it a lot more. You know, whether it was financially, whether it was for their self-esteem, whether it was for their situation in life. Like, you always told us, like, if you didn't get it, it wasn't meant to be yours.
Yeah.
And whoever got it needed it.
Yeah. I feel that, and I still feel that.
Do, yeah.
And it's not only that, whatever opportunity comes your way, whatever booking you get, whatever booking you don't get, it wasn't meant for you.
Yeah.
It's okay, but stay in it. The right one will. And a lot of times we'll say, this one's not meant for you, but hold out, because then the next thing's better.
Mm-hmm.
They always say, if something's not for you, that means there's something better coming, if you stay in it.
Yeah.
And if you're really doing the work, and if you're really, because you can't just say that and then you just think like, well, I'm not going to put effort because eventually whatever's meant is going to come. That's different. That's different. But if your intention is like, I'm doing my best, this is what I'm going to try to do, hopefully it works. Oh, but it didn't work this time, it'll work the next time. That's the intention, and then it will eventually fall through. Also, letting go of the control of it. I have people, and I'm guilty of it, especially when people start out, to where they do it, and then every day, did they pick someone? Did they pick someone? Did they pick someone? And then you're just literally can't sleep or eat at night because you're just so needy and desperate for them to pick you. And whenever you put that neediness and desperation out, even if you do that in the room, people feel it, and that'll be the thing that why you don't get it.
Like a turn off or something.
Yeah. You literally are so focused on that you're not really in the scene, or you're really not delivering something.
Yeah.
The desperation seeps through somehow. It seeps through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm telling you, the things you just let go, those are the things that'll like fall in place. So you do the work, you let go, and hopefully you get a call. And we really got to a place when you guys were younger that we did it. The audition was the job. We were done.
Yeah.
It wasn't
we didn't expect anything
we
else.
didn't expect anything else. We got in the room. That was the job. Yay, we celebrated that. We did not like put on my calendar like, this is the day of the callbacks. If we don't hear by this day, this is the day of the shoot. If we're not called by this shoot day, we just let it go. And if it was ours, it came. I can't even think or even think of the amount of things we missed out on or we didn't get because of the hundreds of auditions over all those years. I don't even know. We got to a point where we don't even watch the stuff that you did audition for. But if we run across it, that's when we'll be like, oh, there was a commercial audition. Then it looks like it got to where, like, we just let it go. Just do the work and let it go.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, we could go on still for hours more.
So what advice would you give for people who are starting off in the industry?
People starting off, it always goes back to self-awareness, making sure it is really what you want to do. And then being comfortable knowing that it's going to be a forever process of work. It's never going to be that I made it tomorrow. You know, like, oh, I booked a commercial, I made it. No, okay, you booked one, now let's see when you could book the next one. It could take 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Even A-listers are still figuring it out.
A-listers, of course, when you get to A-lister, then put your feet up and chill, you made it, right? But that, to get to it, like, I'm talking the basics. Let's first book a commercial. Let's book a non-union print ad. Let's book something. And then just start the climb, but know that it's an ongoing process and it's so competitive in the sense of like, you have to get headshots. Then next year, get some new ones and freshen it up, and everything advances. Training is nonstop until you are a series regular, till you're literally working on a show, to where you're getting your training
because they're coaching you on set.
You're literally working on a show, so now we don't need to keep working. And the training, not only for acting, you're training on your skills, you're sharpening whatever it is that your strengths are. There should always be something you're working on for you. Your mindset. You have to have a tough, strong mindset in this industry to handle the rejection we talked about, to handle the pivots of the industry, because we're not in control. This strike is a perfect example. We're in a pivot. How do we handle this time? We were in the lockdown in 2020 for the pandemic. How do we pivot? We were closed for 6 months. What do the actors do during that 6 months? How do you pivot? We lost a lot of actors during those 6 months. They're like, forget it. There's no control over this industry, and they went and did their other jobs, right? So yes, so you just basically have to know it's an ongoing journey, and it's the one industry that, like, there's always going to be room for growth. It's never just going to be like, I made it right here, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's a bit, it's a lot, but do it. It's fun. But it's fun when you're in it and when it's working.
And when you meet people, like-minded people, makes a big difference.
Yeah,
too.
if you like the arts and creative, if that's your thing, if you like it, don't do it just for the fame. If you're doing it just for the fame, it's not gonna really work. If you're doing it for fame, do TikTok and do your reels but if you're doing it just for the fame, it's not gonna. Make sure the intention is you love art and you love to act and you love to create.
That'll
or whatever.
keep you in it longer too.
It'll keep you in it longer, and it'll keep you okay when on those times that you wanna quit. You'll feel like, no, I love this, and you won't quit. It'll keep you in it. You know. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So much.
It's just, I mean, you could talk about this for literally weeks. It's ridiculous. There's so much. But just to wrap up this whole experience in terms of the industry and all the things, what is one thing you wish you knew then that you know now that you can spread to someone else listening?
Basically, I mean, from the beginning, I didn't even know, how to get an agent, how to get a manager. Like, those are things. When do you need a manager? That's a whole other level, and going to Hollywood and all that stuff. But basically, it's hard for me now that I know it. It's hard for me to not know what I didn't know. You know what I mean?
I mean, everything you said today, in theory, was stuff you've learned.
Yeah, it's all stuff I learned on the way, and
But
once
what was
I
like
learned
the biggest shock of the industry?
oh gosh, I can't go with a biggest
I know,
shock.
that's
It's
a lot.
I guess the realization of it's the realization of like how we have no control of it. It's not always gonna be the best actor.
Mm-hmm.
The whole connection thing, the whole knowing people thing is a real thing.
Yeah.
You can expedite your careers by knowing people, by putting yourself out there. If you put yourself out there more, you get into things more, you get connected more, things can move faster for you. My talent that I see that are like posting content and creating content and putting things out there and connecting with people and making friends and going to all the events and networking, they're working more because they meet people and they get put on different projects. All of that, like I always heard that like, oh, it's who you know, which is why I didn't want to get into it because I knew no one.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that one thing I learned is that you can get to know these people and it could work. So that is a big thing I want to tell everybody who's sitting at home and they're like, I don't know anyone in this industry. I don't know anyone in LA. I don't know anyone who booked a job or whatever. They're very easy to find. They would love for you to ask them about it. They would love for you to talk to you and even tell you anything they know ahead of you. With social media, of course, you see somebody on your friend's feed that they're on set or they're whatever. So reach out to them, ask them how do they do it, find a way. There's steps to it now. We have so many outlets to get there now. And back when I was doing it on foot, I didn't have that much resources. Now the resources are ridiculous. So just do that and then be careful with the scams.
Yeah.
Anything that sounds crazy, that's a big thing. I did
Trust
it.
your gut, yeah.
I did the scams. Don't go to auditions and meet people in warehouses and meet with strangers. Like, you know,
do your research.
Do your research. Make sure it's
ask around,
legit.
see if it's credible.
Yeah.
Especially in the industry, you can easily people know the ones who are not the good ones. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
The
Like,
things that are
the
shady.
questionable things. You know, people know in the industry. So
Yeah, pay attention. There is still people getting scammed these days, which is surprising. So the main thing is if anybody ever asks for social security number or checking account or banking information, do not do it. Like that's where we start. Start with that to keep you safe. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't true. So those are all things that like just pay attention. But with that being said, not everything's a scam because there's that flip side where oh, everything's evil and everything's a scam and everything's no. There is stuff that's legit. Somebody puts a post and they're like casting for this weekend and we're coming into town. That really happens and those are real. They end up being okay. So just trust your gut. Use your judgment, ask questions, ask somebody if they know someone. If you know somebody who knows them, ask, is this legit? Do your research.
Yeah, for sure.
Do your research. Be safe. Don't, be careful.
Know
be
what
careful.
you're worth. Know your worth too. Know what you're willing to put up with and boundaries.
Yeah, don't let people.
Be safe about it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot easier said than done, of course. But yeah, I mean, there's so much. I mean, obviously, again, we might have you on later down the line because I'm sure there will be different feedback and questions and things. If you have any questions specifically for my mom, whether it's as my mother or as the talent agent, of course, message us, DM me on my podcast page. That's where I'll kind of be collecting all the things to follow up one day in the future with her.
Yeah.
But thank you again for being here.
Oh
Part 2.
Part 2. There's so much more.
Yes, there's always so much more, luckily. Yes, so thank you so much for listening. If you are listening to this on the audio version of it, feel free to watch it on YouTube as well. And if you're not, we'll be here every week, every Tuesday. And I cannot wait to see you when we are on to the next episode next week. Bye.
Bye.